Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, and once again, I am back for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of The Legend of Zelda for the NES, or Nintendo Entertainment System as the full name of the system, or the Famicom Disk System for those of you who lived in Japan. So yeah, last time we essentially did manage to able to tackle through the two hardest dungeons in the game. Well, I would say that the 7th dungeon wasn't all that difficult though, although the 8th dungeon so far anyway is actually one of the hardest dungeons I've ever experienced so far. So in some cases though, yeah, we did somehow manage to able to tackle through the demon and the lion. So as a result though, yeah, we did somehow manage to able to did these two dungeons with no deaths so far, and also we've somehow managed able to get ourselves the final two pieces of the Triforce of Wisdom, so that means the Triforce of Wisdom itself has been fully completed. So this means about the fact that we've only got one more dungeon left, which I'll explain more details in a moment. So in some cases though, yeah, and also on top of all that stuff though, we did somehow manage able to get actually access to the giant key, which actually allows me to able to unlock any doors, because now we got ourselves the A, which I'm thinking that might be something relates to the forms of infinite amount of keys we can use. But either way though, it has been about 6 days ago since we've actually last played this for sure. So anywho, and also we somehow managed able to complete our heart containers count. So in some cases though, we've got about all 16 heart containers. So that means we are pretty much be good to go. And especially noticeable, we can able to tackle through the final dungeon in the game. So speaking of which, today for this video is the fact that this is going to be the finale portion of the game, because obviously we're going to be taking on the final dungeon in the game, which I think, if I recall correctly, is the fact that it's going to be located somewhere in Death Mountain. So in some cases though, yeah, we need to make our way onto the forms of Death Mountain itself before we take on the final boss in the game, which appears to be none other than Ganon himself. So as a result though, before we get this thing to it, on the other hand though, I need to quickly grind for some more of those rubies once again. Although this will be the last time for doing this, because otherwise though, we're getting very close towards the end of the game right now. And also on top of all that stuff though, is the fact that, well, relatively speaking though, I need to be able to actually get myself the actual highly advanced potion, so just in case I can able to regenerate my health. So just to ensure about the fact the matter is though, is the fact that I can assure to you that we'll definitely go ahead and say this right now, that we're probably going to be heading over to the forms of the Death Mountain itself, so we can pretty much guarantee we can able to actually stumble across into a whole bunch of enemies for the final time, and we can pretty much guarantee we can able to grind for some more rubies along the way. And on top of that, hopefully we can able to actually aim for about 68 rupees, so that way we can able to buy ourselves the actual medicine. So just in case we can able to actually just to survive for the final dungeon in the game. Because let me tell you, the final dungeon in the game is without a doubt is the hardest dungeon in the game, just because of multiple reasons, which I'm sure they'll discuss more details about this though, until whenever we get to that specific point. So anyways though, a few things I want to explain while this is going to be going on. Recently, today's date is of course the 17th of December today, in this case in 2022 today. So relatively speaking though, it's just the fact that, well, in addition about the fact that we've only just got about 8 more days left until Christmas is approaching, and on top of that, happy 12-year anniversary of the actual episode of My Little Pony Friendship Magic Season 1, and this time it's going to be in the forms of Episode 10, which involves around then, you know, a whole bunch of Parasprites, which as a result, you know, the episode I'm talking about is, of course, Swarm of the Century. So in some cases though, yeah, I can't believe it's been about 12 years ago since that episode did first came out, despite the fact that, while back in the day in 2010, I wasn't really into it at first, but then when I keep on looking up on, you know, several memes or you know, all the other, like, fan services alike, then I decided able to give that a shot since in 2012. And I'm sure enough, though, the other toys will mention more details about that, until whenever we get to the forms of, well, the final few videos for 2022 for sure. So anyway, so here we are in the actual Death Mountain itself, and as you can tell, we actually stumbled across into several of those stronger variations of certain enemies, as you can see, or in some cases though, just strong enemies in general, which I can't seem to remember the names all that well. And of course, there's going to be some tons of boulders, assuming if you're able to go from one screen to the other. And that arrow right there is actually going to tell you where you're supposed to go, and that way we need to head on straight to the left, which actually represents that not only do we able to actually stumble across into ourselves even more enemies up ahead, but also is the fact that if we keep on going all the way to the left, then you will find out about the fact that there's going to be some too rocky structure kind of stuff. So in some cases though, which probably explains why, about the fact the matter is though, is the fact that we're actually getting towards the very end of the end game. So yeah, here we are, on to the forms of this particular section, as what the old man is trying to tell us ever since in a previous video ago. And on top of all that stuff though, before we get this thing onto this though, after all, we actually got enough rubies, so that way we can able to actually now get ourselves the medicine I was talking about. So in some cases though, we'll buy ourselves the red medicine, so just to ensure that we'll definitely get out to use that until the majority of the forms of the final dungeon in the game. And of course we got enough rubies for, you know, just trying to use the bow and arrows, and oh my god, there's a lot of lag going on. I'm guessing it's probably because there's too much enemies on screen, so, or in some cases, there's gonna be too much around in this area, so I guess that probably explains it why. There's gonna be a lot of lag every once in a while, but it always happens sometimes, especially because this is on the NES, of course, so... Anyway, so I think we've pretty much all set, so let's place the bomb onto the left rocky structure, and this will pretty much lead us to the final dungeon in the game, which appears to be the Death Mountain itself, or if I like to call it the Ganon's dungeon, because, well, in order to able to get to there, normally, you have to able to get all of the 8 pieces of the Triforce of Wisdom, because if you're missing out one, then basically though is the fact that you can't enter this dungeon unless if you need able to get, you know, the actual Triforce of Wisdom itself. So, well, as soon as you're able to actually collect all 8 pieces in mind, so... And this place is filled to the brim with all these enemies, and it just decides able to waste you, drain your health like nothing else. And if I were you, you have to able to actually use the map. I'm not talking about the in-game map of any sort, no, use the actual... real map if you looked upon the forms of any other websites or certain playthroughs of Zelda 1, or even if you look upon Game Facts or something like that, because most of the time though is the fact that that's also another reason why this dungeon is considerably the hardest in the game, not only because of several enemy encounters you have to go through, but also this place is huge. Like, literally the largest dungeon you ever gonna come across into in this whole entire game. And also, not to mention though, that this place is gonna be filled to the brim with, like, all kinds of enemies, like likes, as well as these annoying Wizrows. And worst of all though, I believe we get able to stumble across ourselves these annoying Dark Nuts once again. And on top of all that stuff though, sometimes certain rooms can lead you to several dead ends. So as a result though, I highly recommend you do not, I repeat, do not explore the majority of the entire dungeon, because most of the time it can lead you to dead ends, or in some cases though, it can lead you to the forms of some of these death situations. For all that, you know, enemy ambush encounters, and on top of all that stuff though, you just don't want to get hit a lot of times, especially because, again, if you get a game over like I just did for the forms of that particular 4th dungeon, not only do you have to start all over at the beginning of the dungeon, but also you start the game, or you start your continuing with your 3 hearts by default. So yeah, it's a bit of a nuisance, I'm telling you, especially, well, thankfully you do have a medicine with you, unless if you really want for some emergency situations, but still, this particular dungeon is so punishing, which I guess that makes sense, because this is the finale of the game, so, Anyway, so let's grab the compass, so just in case we can able to see the red dot is going to be blinking in and out. So this means that's where the boss leads us to. So of course, the final boss will easily be Ganon, just because obviously we need to defeat him once and for all. So yeah, not much else explanations for the sake of convenience as far as that's been concerned with. And thus this place is going to be a lot of emphasis on backtracking at this point as well, just because about the fact that you're not able to keep on, you know, going through previous rooms, and also you're not able to continuously try to use bombs to work with. So just to ensure that you will able to find true paths, especially noticeable if you're about to get stuck with the forms of this entire dungeon itself, then if I were you, just double check on the forms of several walls, just to ensure about the fact that you can able to actually place bombs with, and that way you can able to actually access to certain other things. So anyways, let's go and take down this mini boss, as you can see, and basically we now get ourselves, whoa, this entire dungeon itself is almost like a skull, which I guess it makes a pretty obvious sense, don't kind of think about it, just because obviously the shape itself is almost like a skull, so this means it's almost like death, because obviously we're exploring through, you know, Death Mountain itself. But I digress, so let's place another bomb right here, which actually leads us to another room we can able to actually access to. So in some cases though, oh goody, we got ourselves a filled to the brim with a lot of wish rolls, likes, and you name the rest. But either way though, sometimes though, you have to be be extra careful, especially noticeable. Well, thankfully the sword beam might actually help you throughout, for certain situations, I suppose. But again, the annoying thing about the certain dungeons though, is the fact that there's going to be a lot of emphasis on the forms of trying to able to ignore, you know, several other like disc skull stuff, because obviously that, you know, it disables your attacks if you dare touch them and stuff like that. And it's so annoying to deal with, especially with the whole group of wrist rolls, as you can tell. That because, again, every time when I touch those little stupid skull disc things, that it just won't allow me to attack. But thankfully though, the actual the damage output doesn't cost my life or anything, or my health or anything else like that, but it's just about the fact that, well, relatively speaking, it's so a pain to dodge sometimes. But anyway, now we've actually gone past that, and now shove this block over here, and able to actually access to this next upgrade. In this case, we actually got ourselves the red ring. And as you can tell, our tunic outfit is now changed to white to red. So in some cases though, I think the red ring does, is that I'm pretty sure it adds your final boost to your defense, basically. So, at least as far as I've noticing that already, so... Oh, and by the way, with that particular power bracelet, as far as what some, YouTubers out there did commented, ever since in, the second part of this playthrough, that, they did say about the fact that I'm pretty sure what the power bracelet does, is that allows me to able to actually shove over, heavy stuff or something like that, so... Which I honestly don't even know that, because for some reason I keep on used to playing, you know, Link's Awakening for the Game Boy Color or the Switch version, because the power bracelet will allow you to able to pick up certain stuff with like parts and everything. So that's just what I find anyway. So anyways, let's go and continue things on here and go to the next room. Okay, so we'll just place that bomb for the left, and from here we can able to actually just to continue things on here, and oh god, a lot more wish rolls. Oh my goodness gracious me. But yeah, you're gonna have to able to keep on clearing these guys out, just in case about the fact that if you really want to progress, you have to keep on like killing them, because otherwise if you don't, then obviously with that particular movable block will not be active until you clear out every single enemies, every single one. So, yeah, it's a bit tough for certain stimulations, I suppose. But exponentially, I think we're pretty much almost to the halfway point of this entire dungeon itself. But either way though, it's just you have to be very cautious with certain enemies and all that stuff, so... Well, thankfully those black blobs aren't that much of a threat, because obviously all they're doing is they just simply just move from like left, right, and all that, you know, multiple directions with ease, so... But at the very least though, I somehow obtained the stopwatch somehow. But anyway, let's go and continue things on here, and of course we got some even more bats to deal with, so... But yeah, not much else I can talk about for the sake of today's video for this point, guys. I mean, surely I would like to be able to mention more, but aside from the fact that ever since about, you know, last Sunday, that I've already mentioned about a lot of stuff thanks to the forms of the Game Awards and stuff like that. But honestly, guys, that's as far as I can usually think about it, so... There's the key right there, but honestly, whoever needs keys every nowadays, just because, well, it's pretty obvious that we got ourselves the giant key, so this means about the fact that we can open up the insane amount of doors as we could. I mean, you can't pick them up though if you decide to be like curious type, but as a result though, it's not my kind of thing, I suppose. Oh, fairy! I do need fairies, which that'll help me for the sake of like getting some more hearts to deal with, so... Oh yeah, speaking of which though, is the fact that we need to find the last item in the game, which is pretty much mandatory if you want to finish the game completely. That you probably already know what to expect, what's going to be up, so in some cases though, but we're never going to have to... We'll find out until whenever we're able to try to find out for ourselves, for, you know, trying to explore this godforsaken rooms of, you know, wish rolls everywhere, and it's just... This place is filled to the brim with these kind of stuff. But still, alongside with those stupid disc skull things, which it's always super annoying to dodge. But again, not much else I can honestly try to talk about for today's discussion, so... Oh, I definitely need that heart, because otherwise, if I don't grab the heart, this means I will gonna have to get hit a lot in this place. I mean, you have no idea how convenient that is to me, so... But at least I got a stopwatch though, so we'll just obtain that, and shove this little block over there, and that way, I think this is where, about the fact that we can able to get ourselves the most important item in the game, if you want to finish the game, which is known as the silver arrows. And yeah, believe me, the silver arrows are mandatory if you want to beat the game. Because if you get to the final boss, and if you think you're about to be winning, but it turns out that you don't win, because otherwise, if you're trying to deal with Ganon in the final blow, and then if you don't have the silver arrows with you, well, it's pretty much unbeatable, and on top of all that stuff though, you can't win. So, I can assure you, we're able to, like, save some arrows, I suppose, until later portions throughout, so... Either way, though, that might be saying something, so... And I'm almost gonna get myself a game over again, but, hopefully... Thankfully, though, we actually did save up for some medicine and stuff like that, so just to ensure that we don't able to die too many times, as far as I'm usually concerned with that stuff, so... Anywho, though, so... Yeah, not much else to say about this, as far as... You know, today's discussion as far as that's been concerned with, which, like I said, there's not much else I can speak about, so... I mean, regardless, that we pretty much almost nearly at the end of The Legend of Zelda before we move on to the rest of the series up to this point. Well, apart from a couple of exceptions though, which appears to be buddy forms of Four Swords Anniversary Edition on the DSi, and on top of all that stuff though with any other, like, other Zelda titles, but aside from all that stuff though, and definitely not the Philips CDI games, because I've heard horror stories about the forms of the Philips CDI, which, as a result, it can give me some nightmares, especially noticeable with that. Horrifying, I know for its memes, for the sake of concept or something, but executionally, for the sake of, like, you know, the majority of the Philips CDI games, especially noticeable, they only have like 3 of them. My god, they aged very, very poorly, because obviously with all that... Well, for Zelda's Adventure, I'm presuming it contains like full motion videos, and it looks very jarring to say the least. And for the likes of the forms of 2D side-scrolling platformers, well, I'm pretty sure they look really ugly in comparison you know what I mean, with all that visuals and presentations, and you name the rest of the actual, like, how much that the Philips CDI is probably the most infamous gaming systems of all time, probably due to the fact that, well, relatively speaking though, I think that's as far as I can explain more about it for then and here on. So, actually kind of think about it, I don't think there's any more of those dog nuts around here, so thank heavens for that, just because, man, I just cannot stress enough about the fact that I still think Dungeon 8 is by far the hardest of the actual dungeons in this game, but I think when you get the hang of it though, for the sake of the forms of the final dungeon in the game, you would do okay enough. So, anyway, so let's go ahead and deal with even more wish rolls, and yeah, they're just like able to try to ambush you, like, they're just trying to able to actually just say, like, fresh meat, fresh meat, fresh meat, or something like that, which I honestly have no idea why I explained about this, so, but then again, though, it's important to know that, honestly, playing this game with the guide will be necessary in order able to actually finish the game, because without one, then sometimes this game can be barely playable, or maybe I'm just a little bit too harsh at this point, or maybe because I do prefer with the forms of the other future better games in the series. Well, mind you, it's still good and amazing back in the day, but looking back in it right now, especially we're still on 2022, it's becoming very archaic, but don't get me wrong, I still enjoy the game still, but it's just the fact that it just feels a bit, well, old school like, where it comes to like controls and all that stuff, which as a result, sometimes the gameplay style feels remarkably similar to the forms of how it does it. There was an indie game called The Binding of Isaac, which, as a result, I've heard some good things about it though. Well, despite the fact that I do remember back in the day in 2013, despite I didn't pick up the game, that basically though, is just the fact that it's incredibly baffled by the forms of how awkward it is to control, with all that keyboard layout and everything, so... And I think, fundamentally speaking, this will be the last time seeing those godforsaken Wizrows, because my god, the Wizrow ambush thing is eventually finished and over and done with. So, thank heavens for that. And of course, we got the last mini-boss fight before we take on the final boss in the game, which is of course Ganon himself. And yeah, everything else goes all fine and everything. So, there he goes. So, and it's a good thing we actually got ourselves even more rupees during the forms of this particular dungeon, because, again, silver arrows is required in order able to finish the game. So, and there's the Triforce of Wisdom itself, and here's Ganon himself! And he is by far the hardest boss fight in the game, because most of the time, he's completely invincible for a few seconds notice, and it's your job to able to find him while he did somehow becomes invincible. So it's almost like a guessing kind of game. So as a result though, if you get enough hits on him though, well, you'll point it out whenever we're able to actually just find out until whenever we try to hit him, I suppose. Oh, a forewarning for those of you able to actually kids watching this, until when it gets like some seizure-reducing sections come into play, I highly recommend you close your eyes instantly until you don't get seizure reducing, because I know for a fact that because it's on emulation and stuff, well, as far as I'm aware, for the sake of likely playing on my NES Classic Mini, but still, it might be felt a little bit too much for you with all that flashing, seizure reducing kind of stuff, and that deals so much damage of mine, for my health anyway, so... yeah, sometimes it's kind of annoying to able to get the most accurate sword stabs on him. So, oh jeez, where is he? Come on, Ganon, where are you? I know you're around here somewhere, but I'm almost going to be dying anyway, so... ah, there he goes. If as soon as he turns brown, use the silver arrow right there, and that deals the final blow. And a forewarning, seizure reducing. And you can open your eyes again. But there's going to be another seizure reducing until whenever we meet up with Princess Zelda. So, but basically we need to use silver arrows to clear out the flames, and here we are. we finally reunite with Princess Zelda, alongside with the forms of, well, you know. Thanks, Link, you're the hero of Hyrule. Another seizure reducing coming up. And you can now open your eyes now, so finally, peace returns to Hyrule. So, yeah, the end basically. But if you beat the game once though, you get yourselves a brief small staff credit sequence. But if you make your way towards the bottom of this credit sequence, the game tells you that about the fact that there's actually a second quest you can tackle, which is essentially this game's hard mode. So the only difference is between the normal playthrough of this game than the likes of the another quest, as you can tell, is the fact that the another quest does able to actually offer us a different dungeon layout that you can able to actually tackle through which one of them you want to go for. But to this day, I'm really trying to able to get started with the second quest, but I think I should probably move on to the next game at this point, because let me tell you, my final thoughts of this game, I had a good time, but it's not my favorite Zelda games I ever played. But, I mean, sure, it might not age very well, but either way though, I think the music is definitely the highlight for me, and the graphics do look very, very good, even on the NES, although the controls-wise might be felt a bit chaotic at points, and on top of all that stuff though, I just think that it'll become, you know, one of my favorite franchises of all time when it comes to playing video games like The Legend of Zelda. Especially that Tears of the Kingdom should be on its way now for the sake of the forms of next year. So, and by the way, with that number 3 right there, that actually represents how much deaths you encountered. So, yeah, I guess that pretty much summarizes as such. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching our redo Let's Play of The Legend of Zelda. I hope you guys do enjoy this playthrough. And this is me, Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'm from the likes of the Mexi Toys. And hopefully at some point in the future, we will definitely get out to carry on doing new forms of some more Zelda Let's Plays in the future. So, hope you guys will be ready for this, especially in 2023 and beyond. So, see you guys then. See ya.